in that bag. This is Rick.
Eric.
And this is our quick review of the new horror movie, It Follows, written and directed by David Robert Mitchell and
starring Micah Monroe.
Micah Monroe plays a girl named Jay, who's dating this guy named Hugh.
He takes her to the bone zone.
They have sex on their date. He chloroforms her afterwards, and then ties her up to a wheelchair, and then confesses to her that there's an entity that's been following him, and he found out that it's transmitted sexually. The entity is now following her. She can't let the entity capture her, because if she does, she'll be killed and it will start following him again.
It's like a big chain. It continues from one person to the next. Hugh transmits it to Jay, and like they can both see it. But it's pretty cool because throughout the whole movie, like they can see it, but nobody else can. So they kind of rely on asking their friends, "Do you see that person there?" And if they don't see it, then that means that's it. Initially, walking out of the theater, I had a lot of questions, but that actually meant that it was like a really good movie. I was kind of like, damn, like, well, they didn't answer this, they didn't explain this that well, but at the same time, it leaves it very ambiguous for the viewer to interpret it. One thing that I did really like was the directing. I love the wide shot. Actually, the very first shot of the film, it kind of does like a 360 like pan.
There's a lot of panning shots.
A lot of panning.
From what I read, David Robert Mitchell purposely directed with a wide-angle lens to get those shots like that.
I loved it because most horror films, especially nowadays, like they kind of rely more on jump scares, and those jump scares kind of come from claustrophobic type of environment, like they're in a small, like a room, or they're trying to hide from something. But what I loved about it was that it puts it out there to you that this entity, it follows you. No matter where you're at, it walks towards you. And I think that was pretty cool too, because it's, at the same time, it's a throwback to like the old school horror movies. Michael Myers or Jason, he pretty much just walks at it. And it sounds kind of dumb, I guess, when you think about it, but it's really scary. I mean, I think that added a lot to it because it looks really menacing when you see it following her and it's just walking towards her very slowly, and eventually it's gonna catch up to you, and the whole movie it's her just running away from it. I think a lot of elements from like Nightmare on Elm Street, even they can't really sleep. In Nightmare on Elm Street they couldn't fall asleep because Freddy will get them in their nightmares, where in this one they can't fall asleep because it can pop out of anywhere and it could kill him in an instant. So the whole time it's like, shit, I can't fall asleep. It's very uneasy because you're not able to rest at all, especially since nobody else can see it. You can't be warned that it's coming for you.
Explaining the plot, like, it sounds like a stupid idea. Like,
the idea sounds stupid,
if you do it like as a one sentence pitch, like he bones this chick and pretty much this demon starts to follow her. ST demon. I mean, it sounds like a cheesy,
stupid,
like a cornball, like 70s 80s horror movie you'd watch like on Elvira's show. I think it lends to the brilliance of that David Robert Mitchell made it work, that they could take what sounds like a contrived kind of gimmicky sort of premise, and he makes it like you take the movie seriously.
And I think it sounds cheesy just because it's weird. It's very weird, but
I've read that it's like it's a metaphor for against teen.
Well, I mean that's the obvious one. It's really scary. There aren't really many jump scares in the way of like typical horror movies where it just things pop out. There are some here and there, but very few ones.
And they fit into the movie. It's not like, somebody opens a cabinet and like a cat pops out.
Yeah.
When there was never like even a cat in the movie. It doesn't rely on gore either. It's not really.
No, there's not
really
blood.
any blood. It made me feel uneasy as I was watching it because you keep watching stuff in the background, like you see stuff. Oh, is that it? I kept looking in the background trying to see if there was like something coming up on her, or like for little clues. That really worked well in the movie. So I think this is a really good effort from David Robert Mitchell. This is only a second movie. Previously was the 2012 film The Myth of the American Sleepover, which I haven't seen. I hadn't even heard of it. The score in the movie, which was awesome. While we did like the movie a lot, there were some things that we didn't like so much. Just certain lapses in logic. So the guy Hugh that chloroforms Jay, they track him down, and then they're just like sitting and having a conversation with them, like if they're all cool and shit, like.
Which I mean, he is trying to explain to them more in depth about how it works, but at the same time, it's like shit, like I'd been pissed, especially if I was one of her friends.
Yeah.
Knowing that he did this to her, I'd been like, what the fuck?
It just seemed like there was very like little police involvement. The mom is hardly ever shown in the movie.
For me, they stood out when I was watching it, but with that said, like it kind of took me out of it a little bit, but overall, like, I mean, I still enjoyed the film.
The other thing I did like about this movie is that the kids, they're not like on their phone all the time. You ever notice like there's parts where they're just hanging out, like none of them are on their phone.
That kind of has to do with the whole throwback to like the
Yeah.
old school horror movies.
I
you
think
know?
really the only thing is the girl Yara, one of their friends.
She has a little
she has like a
clamshell.
compact. It's almost like a DS, like a Nintendo 3DS, and it
But that's
scrolls from
basic-
one screen to the other.
That's basically like the only like I guess modern technology that's in the whole film.
And they don't talk like in like current sort of lingo for kids. You know, they don't talk all that YOLO bullshit and whatever. There are a lot of other things we want to talk about, but we'll save that for the spoiler reviews. We wouldn't want to spoil a movie like that for you, so come check that out, and we'll get into a discussion about the ending, which was like sort of ambiguous, but in a good way. Like the more I thought about it, we sat in the theater and talked about it afterwards.
I think with the second view, I'll probably learn to love it a little more. For me, the inconsistencies kind of took me out of it just a little bit. I think a little more than for you, but I mean overall, like I still recommend it. Like I think it was really well done, and I think it's one of those films that gets better with the the more you view it.
So as far as my rating, I give it
motherfucking tizzy.
what rating you want to give this?
I didn't love it, but
I like it a lot.
All right, so let us know what you thought. If you guys have already seen It Follows, let us know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, and join us for our spoiler review and see if you agree with us, the things we got to say as far as our interpretation of the ending and everything else. So we'll catch you on the next one.